Hey, what do you know? It's NBN making news. The first non-Wayland or NR ID I've played against since the Order and Chaos has been released. So now, I'm playing my dedicated noise mill deck. So it's not very good news that I'm playing up against a fast corp in the form of NBN. Alright, so what is this mill deck all about? Basically, milling is actually a strong objective for this deck. There are other various ways this deck can win, of course. Milling is not my only strategy, but a lot of the cards in this deck are dedicated to ensure that lots of viruses will be installed over the course of the game. So on the left column of this graphic, you can see 3 cards that get my programs back into action. Uninstall is extremely good for recycling caches and all your programs. Deja Vu and Test Run get all the caches back so that you get lots of money. So this deck can actually run on less money. Once you see your first cache, you are just going to rake in the cache with all these tools. As for the next 3, Earthrise Hotel, what's that called? I've had worse, and Quality Time all provide lots of draw, so I can actually see all my cards, which is what a mill deck wants. So you notice that there's one of each from the white neutral faction, the Shaper faction, and the Anarch faction. But it's no coincidence. They are the strongest cards in each faction for draw and recursion, somewhat. Alright, so let's get into the game. He doesn't protect R&D. I install a medium and run 3 times, calling a single breaking news. It could be debated that demolition run on my last click would have been useful, but the two things I saw on top of his R&D were Tollwolf and Caduceus. Not much of a threat, either one of them, so I let them go. So here I made a huge mistake. I ran R&D. I should have known that it was a Caduceus on R&D since I saw it last turn on top of R&D. That's the perfect ice to put on R&D for 0 link runner, and I paid the price. Not only did I not get in, I basically let him res the Caduceus for free, which was bad news. In the meantime, he actually got a Jackson Howard going, and he attempts to score an Astro Script behind remote, so I have to contest it. I run it. Ooh, it's not an Astro Script, it's a pop-up window. Turns out it's a Sense City Grid. That's not good news either, because now next turn he'll have 8 credits, he can score an Astro Script from hand. So I need to immediately jumpstart my economy, hence I test run for the first cache. This is a usual line of play for this deck. This mill deck. This mill deck is basically, I use my previous so-called competitive noise deck as a base for this deck, and since I'm not looking to breach servers that often, I'm more focused on installing viruses. Test running a cache is always a good option. So as I said, he does score the first Astro Script. Then I run Archives again and attempt to score the NAPD. He does not reshuffle the NAPD back to R&D with Jackson. He allows me to gain 2 agenda points. Of course, this comes at a hit to my tempo. I am forced to click for credits thereafter. But I think it worked in my favor. I like the fact that I gain 2 agenda points for free just like that. However, you must note that Jackson's still on the board. So any future installs such as this cache that I'm about to install after installing Cyber Feeder, if I do mill an Astro Script or build into Archives, it will be useless because he does have Jackson to reshuffle them back. So that's what he's looking to do. Ideally, NBN wants you, the runner, to steal NAPDs and they keep the builds and Astro Scripts for themselves. So, yep, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Notice that I'm actually not running his Sensen. I'm very lucky this game that he wasn't actually flooded with builds and Astro Scripts in hand. Otherwise, my game would have been over very quickly. The moment he res Sensen and scored an Astro Script, I knew I couldn't contest it. Clicking for credits and running Sensen is definitely not a line of play for my deck. That's way too slow. I need to just continuously place pressure by installing viruses. And if he does chain out agendas, well, there's nothing much I can do about that. So I can only hope that he doesn't draw into the agendas he needs, and I sure hope he doesn't draw into his second breaking news, because he can easily blow up my reliable income in the form of eSource Pawn Shop very easily. So I use Quality Time, and that draws me a lot of useful cards, including my second copy of Cache, something I really wanted to see. I'm forced to discard here, and I eventually choose to discard the Demolition Run because I'm pretty sure I won't be building too many medium counters. That's the other win condition for my deck. If I do get an early incubator off, I can demo run the R&D for massive damage, potentially decking them via demo run. If they have no Jacksons out, they lose immediately if I can demo run for more than the number of cards they have in their R&D. So that contributes to the milling strategy. In the meantime, he scores a second Astro Script, which is a huge pain. This probably more or less seals my fate. It's basically game over from here. So now I'm just going through the routine, the motion. Thankfully, the quality time drew into my imp, so I was able to trash Sen along with the Jackson Howard. But I know it's more or less game over because the moment he draws a bill, he's definitely going to score it with an Astro Script token. I need to prevent that, but it's impossible because I can't run R&D. I don't have enough money to install my Crypsis. But I do find my Charizard when drawing up with I've Had Worse. Then I install Data Sucker using the recurring credit from Cyber Feeder and play Daily Cast. So hopefully my economy is restored that way. In the meantime, he does perform a Jackson draw and installs what seems to be a Sen in the remote. So he probably hasn't found his agenda yet, but I can't be completely sure. You never know when they draw with Jackson. Thankfully it's not Nerf Hub. Nerf Hub would draw so many cards. The rate of him seeing agendas is much lower, but still, the pressure is on. Having two Astro Script tokens against me is all but guaranteed loss. Alright, so I attempt to contest HQ, and he raises a checkpoint. So that's what he's testing with Order and Chaos. Checkpoints, in conjunction with Broadcast Square, allows him to mitigate the illicit nature of this ice, mitigate the bad pop, while slapping on me a huge trace. 3 meat damage. I decided to go on with a run anyway, because I thought there was an agenda in there. All I saw was a daily business show, and I got quite a few cards trash. So that was unfortunate. But no matter. In the meantime, he does score the third Astro Script. So yeah, game over. Right now I'm just really going through the motion. This deck is way too slow. All I can do right now, I can't even play a Crypsis to force an R&D run. Now the only thing I can do is to install David, install Cash, and run his toll booth in the hopes that he will use Jackson to reshuffle his agendas back in. Not much hope there. He doesn't even use Jackson because there are no agendas in there. So I've milled a couple of cards with Imp, Cash, not enough. This deck cannot stand against NBN. The only good news is that he doesn't seem to have drawn his build yet, so he's just playing Sweet Speaks. So this gives me one more turn to, install my second Cash. Alright, so I do install my second Cash. I forgot to pawn my first one with Aesop's, but I have an uninstall in hand, so that Cash on the table might still come in handy. At this point, I just continuously hammer HQ because his last turn, he used Jackson and then click for credits twice, which tells me he did draw an agenda with Jackson. And I do find his NAPD, bringing me up to 5 points. And for my last click, I uninstall and read the cache. This was a big mistake. So I did a good and right thing by running his checkpoint, which was easy to break because I had David. But I should have uninstalled the David instead of the caches. I could easily pawn cache with Aesop's, but I cannot refresh my David without the uninstall. I needed to uninstall the David, reinstall it before I could. Then I can run on his HQ more often. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that, so I basically pawned off my David, and I joined to a test run, which couldn't have come at a better time. So what I do right here is to first toss the cash, which allows me to gain lots of credits, then play a Crypsis on the Charizard, and make a Hail Mary run on R&D. He shows me the Caduceus. I do a bit of math. It costs 5 credits to break both Caducei. I'm just going to pay 4 each because right now, corp credits don't matter. All he needs is 1 or 2 credits, which he will easily get with the running pack campaigns to score his winning agenda. So right now, I'm just going to use Crypsis to break the end run subroutines. That will cost me 8 credits. I'm down to 5 credits, and I'm going to see 4 cards from R&D. So if this fails, I basically lost the game. I don't really care at this point. I was meant to lose the game a long time ago. The very fact that I actually managed to last so long is a miracle in itself. So he uses Jackson Howard to shuffle 3 non-agendas in the deck, but that didn't matter because I pulled off 2 bills for the win. Well, that wasn't expected. I won the game against NBN. Amazing. Well, it was down to bad luck again. My opponent got very unlucky. Because not so much because I hit the agendas in his deck. Seeing 4 cards off the top of NBN, you more or less do expect agenda. What was really unfortunate for him was that he wasn't able to draw his Bill. He had 3 Bills in deck. He didn't draw a single one of them, despite repeated Howard draws, and despite me not pressuring his HQ too much. So that was a huge problem for him. If you don't see your agendas, you can't win. And this isn't Astrobiotics. If he had played a more serious deck like Astrobiotics or Scorched Earth NBN, I would have been easily defeated. He was just messing around with Checkpoint, which didn't prove to be too effective because I could choose my fate, take the 3 deep mean damage when I need to, and bring out the David to counter it very easily. So yes, Checkpoint is not effective in this deck, but my deck isn't necessarily a good deck either, even though I won the game. It definitely needs to be able to put on the pressure faster. And I find that when I see a lot of archives, the game goes horribly for me, especially when I'm not able to contest the Jackson. He did a very good job by placing a toll booth on archives and placing Jackson in a secure remote, so I couldn't get to either of them without losing a lot of resources myself. So well played on his part, he just got unlucky. Thanks for watching, happy net running. Goodbye.